folks. Steve Urban here, founder and CEO at recruiting firm Riderflex. If you enjoyed today's guest interview, please give it a like and be sure to subscribe to the Riderflex podcast. And now, a quick word from our sponsor.
Try the #1 marketing platform for small business. Everything you need from design to marketing to CRM. Learn more at marketing360.com. Marketing 360. Fuel your brand.
Steve Ohanians on the Riderflex podcast. How you doing, Steve?
Good, Steve. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. We're going to try to record our podcast here today from a remote connection. We'll see how we do. Thanks for being on. Thanks for being connected. Looks like a 20+ year agency you've built over there, right?
Yeah, been doing this for a minute, so
just a little bit. You started when you were like 15.
I started when I was 15. Yeah, that's, you can see from all the white hair how young I am. So yeah.
Hey, before we get into it, will you tell me about yourself though, personally? Give me some history, some personal life, mom, dad, where you grew up, where you're from, all that good stuff.
Yeah. So my background nationality is Armenian, not Irish. No apostrophe, but I'm Armenian. So in 1986, my parents decided to move to the United States, to give their kids, myself, better life and more opportunity. And I guess I want to say a typical immigrant story, but their stories are not always typical, right? It's pretty different and difficult for them. But anyway, I got here when I was 12. My dad used to be a pretty high position, prestigious job as a senior VP or a manager of a oil refinery in Iran. So in 86, when we wanted to come from Iran to the United States, we couldn't just do that, right? So they pretty much had to give up everything and came to the United States with a few $100s in his pocket. So when he got here, he got his plumbing contractor's license and started doing that for new construction. And that was kind of my firsthand experience with someone in my life being in entrepreneurship or being self-employed, I should say.
I see. Okay. That's where the bug came from, the original bug?
That was, yeah, I mean, for me, the nice thing was I knew it was being okay being self-employed. Like I saw him working hard and I saw this guy that barely spoke the language but he was super dedicated, had employees and, had clients that respected him. And, for me, it meant that I didn't have to go get that job at the next big firm right after I graduated, right? It was okay for me to kind of venture out on my own and test the waters and see what I could do by myself. So, plus I've learned a few plumbing tricks from him too.
I was just about to ask you if you turned a few wrenches and crawled underneath a few sinks here and there. I'm sure you did.
I was actually, I was actually under a sink last night trying to figure out how to connect the freaking pipe to a supply valve and get this thing working. So I'm not great at it, but the nice thing is I'll give it a shot for maybe a couple hours and then I call the real experts.
Do you have any siblings?
I have a younger brother and sister.
Younger brother and sister. Okay. Are they in California as well?
They're both in California.
Okay. Mom, dad still alive?
Mom, dad's still alive. So I'm in Northern California. They're all in Southern California. My sister has some babies that they're being grandparents to. So they're all down there. They love it. They love being with the kids.
And how long have you been in the Bay Area yourself?
So we pretty much moved to the Bay Area right when we got here. So okay. I think maybe 86, we might have spent a couple of years in LA. And then right after that, we came to the Bay Area.
Wow. Your dad bought a place in the Bay Area in 86. It must be worth 10 times that amount now.
Well, he didn't buy anything, but we moved here. He eventually bought stuff, but I wish he bought something in 86, 88. That would have been amazing. No, didn't go that way, but yeah, we did move here and it was different. I mean, San Jose, we had which is kind of heart of Silicon Valley now. It was all orchards back then, So it was a different scene than what it is today.
Oh, no doubt about it. Right. No doubt about it. So what
Yeah.
kind of kid were you? What kind of teenager were you? I mean, were you a good kid? Were you in trouble? Were you the rebel of the three kids? Where were you in the mix?
I was good-ish. I still had to be the older brother and set the rule down once in a while, but I was pretty good. I enjoyed the things I was enjoying. Um, I was I was kind of always good in math and physics, and I totally nerded out trying to figure out how things work. And I would take remote controls apart and trying to see how they work, and my toys apart, and not necessarily putting that back together working condition again, but I was like kind of trying to figure out how things work and solving problems. And I think at the same time I was really into the arts and creative and music as well. Like I taught myself how to play guitar, and
Oh, cool.
I was composed music. I always had a creative outlet as well. So that was me. I was both a nerd, kind of into the technical stuff, and then I
Okay.
love the creative stuff as well. So
Did you get
those were
the creative? Did you get the creative from your mom? And I forgot to ask, what'd your mom do for a living?
So my mom did accounting for a living, but it was definitely my mom's side of the family. My mom's dad, so my grandfather, taught music in school.
Oh,
So
oh, I see. I see. Okay. Right. Ever in a band? I'm sure you were.
yeah, so that's the story. So when I graduated high school, I first went to. Well, here's the thing. So I like both worlds, right? I like the creative side and I like the technical side. But I feel like when I
Yeah.
graduated high school, I had to pick one or the other, right? Like you have to
Yeah.
go into the arts and do the Bachelor of Arts things, or go into like engineering, do Bachelor of Science. So I first picked to go into. I chose aerospace engineering out of everything I picked. Uh, Went to
Uh,
USC, and in my head I was gonna get into doing flight simulators where you can take everything I learned from physics and all that, and apply it to a simulation process where you can bring some visuals and creativity into it. But
okay.
man, I got bored really quick. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
there's way too much math and way too much physics for me, and uh, not enough, no creative outlet. So to my parents' delight, I dropped out of school and started a rock. So, uh, so yeah, that's how it went.
Yeah, I'm sure your dad loved that. Was a fun conversation, right?
Oh
Just
yeah, they're super happy about it. They're like, yeah, we brought you here, gave up everything, and you know, you go be a rock star, Steve.
he worked really hard. He paid for how many semesters of the cash did he pay for there before you dropped out?
2 semesters, two
Two
semesters.
semesters. He's like, geez, you just blew some cash. I worked hard. I was a plumber all my life. I saved some money. You go to college. Now you're a rock. That's pretty good. Yeah, I bet that
Yeah.
went over really well. All right. And then what? And then what? You're living in apartments with friends, playing gigs, having fun for a little while.
Oh, that was awesome, man. Like just had some friends, wrote music, performed in clubs in LA, and
Pretty
it
cool.
was the best time of my life. I would say like kind of that. I don't know. Do you play music?
I don't, but I was in, if it counts, I worked in music retail for 13 years back when you had to actually go to a store to buy music. So I was in the scene.
That was awesome. Where you could actually they
Yes.
have those like you could put the CD in and listen to it and do all that stuff, right?
Yes. 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 Hell,
Uh,
hell, when I first started, we still sold cassettes.
ah, there.
Anyway, yes. Anyway, so you're
I was in a used record store, and that whole cassette
oh,
section, and those things are starting to gain value, believe it or not.
wow. I should have saved some. I should have
I know.
saved some. You probably now knowing that you're a music guy, you probably have some LPs, right? You got albums at the house?
So we had one EP that we did as a band. So
Oh no, well, okay. I'm glad you told me that. I was
oh
asking if you had a collection. Do you have a
yeah,
collection, like a turntable and a collection at home?
I have a small collection. I mean, I was never a collector type, so I
Okay,
eventually kind
okay,
of turned into digital music. I have a ton of stuff on digital,
okay,
but
okay,
um,
okay.
not a big
S-
music.
All right. So anyway, you're playing in the band, you're chasing girls, you're partying, you're doing wild drugs, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I got it.
But so yeah, and then, but in the back of my head, I always knew like this can't be my full path. Especially as an immigrant, first generation kid, there's a little weight on you, right? Like
yeah, it's true, right?
like,
Yeah, yeah.
you gotta make something of yourself. And to be honest, I actually missed some of the engineering stuff I was learning too. So it was fun, but so this was mid 90s now, and the web world was really coming onto its own, right? So browsers were becoming better, and you had Internet Explorer and Netscape, and there's standards being written on how to create HTML, and there's tools to make websites, making websites easier, and there's Flash and Flash animations and Flash websites, all sorts of cool things happening at that time, and I became obsessed with designing and building websites. I mean, that just became my thing. I was doing it night and day. I would create them for my band, for my friends' bands.
I see.
I would create it for family, friends, businesses I worked for, businesses that didn't even ask for me to do anything for them. I would like design their website and say, here's how your website can be better. Here you go, check it out.
And were you thinking, how long did it take for you to say to yourself, okay, if this rock and roll thing doesn't work out, I might be able to make a living making websites? Or the whole time, were you thinking this is my backup plan, or?
No, it was kind of happening both at the same time. Like I was doing the rock and roll thing, and then I was kind of obsessed with this web thing. And at some point I figured out like, this is actually what I really enjoy. Like for me, that web was like the perfect marriage of like both the creative outlet I was looking for and the technology and engineering outlet I was looking for. Like I could do both and put them all together into something. So
I got it.
So I decided to drop out of my band, much to my bandmates' delight, and I went back to school to study graphic design and computer science. And then I think my senior year in school is when I started WebEnertia.
Wow, you started at your senior year. Is that because you were doing little gigs on the side anyway for cash, and you said, okay, well, I just need to go ahead and file an LLC and turn this into a company or whatever?
Yeah. So I started with a business partner of mine, and we were busy. In fact, I am in 100% transparency, 2 or 3 upper G's short of my degree, but we got so busy that I'm like, okay, this is it. I already know what I want to do. I love doing what I'm doing, so I started focusing on that.
Now, let me ask you, when you went back to school and you dropped out of the band, did you call your parents back and say, hey, can you help me go back to school? And then they paid for some more schooling, and then they dished out some more cash, and then you never got the degree.
No, they didn't dish out cash the second time. They're like,
okay. Okay. All right.
You do what you got to do. You figure it out. We learned our lesson,
Okay.
One thing I will tell them is they've been supporting of everything I do. So that's
great. Okay. Very good. Okay. All right, cool. So you guys are off and running with, this is a friend of yours. Now, did you guys were you co-founders together? So 50-50 split, or how did you set it up at first?
Co-founders 50.
Okay.
Yeah. I was on the creative side, and he was studying math and computer science. So he was kind of the technology builder guy, and I was a creative guy initially, although I did both. I had interest in both.
And who was doing the sales? Who was getting the gigs? Was that you or him, or both?
It was me.
Yeah. Okay. And for the listeners that are aspiring entrepreneurs, back then, did you have any idea what the hell an operating agreement was, or any of that, how to set up a cap table, or any of the ownership stuff, any of that?
I call myself an accidental entrepreneur because, I started an agency, or I co-founded an agency because I love designing and building websites. It was as simple as that. I didn't start an agency or a company to scale and grow a business. I had no idea what the fuck that stuff is about. And like I was joking with someone recently that nowadays, like, I feel like everyone I meet is an entrepreneur, right? Like there's a
Right.
lot of entrepreneurs out there.
Yeah, especially in the
And,
Bay Area where you're
and
at. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, like every other person. And like back in the 90s or late 90s when I was doing this, it wasn't so cool to be an entrepreneur, right? Like, yeah, you need to find a good job, good paying job and stuff. Uh, so yeah, I mean, for me, being an entrepreneur was a byproduct of me doing the work, doing more of the work that I love to do and seeing that making a difference, like moving the needle for organizations. So
Mm.
that's how I started. And at some point I had to figure out, you know, HR and creating a culture and operations and branding and marketing and all that. So, and it was all, and then the other thing was, you know, digital agencies as a business was also new, right? Like that was
Ah,
kind of starting to become a
right.
thing at that time. So it's not like I had peers or podcasts or YouTube videos that I could look at to see like how I could start this thing. It was a lot of trying. I can't even explain to my parents what I did, right? Uh, so so for me, it was a lot of trial and error. And you know, as a CEO now, those are the challenges that I enjoy more now, right? Like I started because I love doing the design and you know
Mm.
all that stuff, but me learning and figuring those other parts of the business is what's you know what gives me joy now as a CEO.
Do you do any of the creative stuff yourself anymore?
You know, I forced myself into some projects. I swoop in and poop on some of our folks. They call it the swoop and poop, Steve
Yeah.
swoop and poop. But no, we have amazing designers and creative directors that manage most of that work. Now I'll give like a strategic direction on certain things, but
Okay.
they do most.
And the co-founder, your friend, is he still involved? Or you bought him out a long time ago, or what's the status?
No, he's still around. He's still
Oh,
around.
and what is
Still
his
around.
role in the company?
He's the director of technology. So he runs our entire development and technology team.
Ah, I see. Well, that's hey, for the original co-founder still to be working together after 20 something years, that is a win. And that's a little rare for all the people I've had on the podcast. So congratulations on that.
We,
What?
I mean, the story goes, if you have time, goes a
Yeah.
little bit deeper than that. We actually grew up like his dad and my dad grew up best friends. So I grew up with them almost like my brother. So I'm like the
Wow.
best man at his wedding. He's the best man at my wedding. I'm the godfather to his kids. I mean, we're like tangled like this. And
Mm.
thing I would say is, you know, being in business with a friend or anyone having co-founders is not easy, right? Like your 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 relationship is just bound to change. Like the
Mm.
stuff that the conversations that you have just are a lot more have a lot more weight behind them. There's a lot
Hmm.
more things like decisions have so much weight and you come from different backgrounds. So it's tough being, and for us, luckily, that actually made us be stronger friends. So we're
Okay.
lucky.
Oh,
We're
that
lucky.
is okay. Very good. Let me ask you the ownership structure, though. You set it up 50-50. Have you, is it still 50-50 on the ownership cap table, or have you taken on cash? Have you raised cash? What, for the listeners, whatever you want to share. I know it's a private company, but I get a lot of questions, from people. Oh, how do I raise cash? When should I raise cash? All those questions. So I'm just curious where the company stands now and whether or not you've raised cash before.
We've never raised cash. It's always been bootstrapped. It's we're still both of us are majority owners. We have a third partner that we brought in, who's a minority, who has minority stakes into the company, but he's been a long time, like 15, 16-year part of our business. But yeah, we bootstrapped this
Nice.
whole thing.
Wow. Three people that have ownership in the company, and you've bootstrapped it. You're obviously healthy and cash flow positive. And now what, 50 employees and 20 years later, right? Or I don't know how many employees you got.
Close to 90-ish employees
Close to
now.
90. Okay, great. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Wow. Congratulations. And no debt. You haven't had to borrow any cash. Wow. Congrats.
No, yeah, never had to borrow cash, never had to raise money, and Yeah,
You're probably attracted. I'm sure you get phone calls from. I'm sure you get them all the time, either from PE or VC or whatever other agencies. I mean, you're an attractive set of financials. I'm sure people are calling saying, "Hey, we want to buy you. Hey, let's merge. Hey, let's partner." I'm sure you've had lots of those conversations.
there's a lot of M&A folks reaching out to us. Like my email inbox is full of them.
And what
Uh,
are you entertaining anything? And a two-part question. What is the plan? Do you just want to continue to keep it as a lifestyle business, or are you thinking about growth in a transaction?
so to grow, includes whatever that includes, and we obviously want to be smart and have some kind of an exit plan or something where everything that we're doing, who knows what will happen, where this business will be like 5 years, 10 years, 15 years from now. So we want to make sure that we're looking at different opportunities. So there's always, pretty much, I would say every year we have open conversations. We're looking at different opportunities and things like that. But our number one goal right now is to just grow, and
Okay.
that's kind of and see how far we can take this thing, this baby that we've created is
Okay.
what we want to see. Yeah,
Have you ever had an outside firm come in and do a valuation on the business at all?
we've done that. Yeah.
No. Oh, you have. Okay. So you have taken a little look at what it's
We've
worth.
had some serious conversations. In fact, we look at our valuation every year just so we know where we are.
Okay.
But it's more to be smart. And actually going through that process was great too, because it kind of makes you look at your financials in a specific way, not like internally, but you will look at it externally, see what other people think is important from a value perspective. So going through that process the first time helped us think of our business a little bit differently. And then now we keep up on it. We want to know how we're doing and what that looks. And if, who knows, if the right opportunity comes, we want to be at least ready for conversations.
If you don't mind me asking this, are you running it per se as a lifestyle business where you're spending all you can spend to break even, so to speak, to do well on taxes, or are you trying to produce 20-something% on the bottom line or more to attract potential suitors? Which one are you currently doing? I'm just curious.
We're trying to get 20% on the bottom line, but not for the suitors. I mean, just for
okay.
That also includes, we also want to get balance in our life. My wife won't let me work this hard without us being able to enjoy some of the things that we do.
Good for you. Good for you.
So, there's a balance there that we're trying to meet.
Yeah. Tell me. So you're married, you got kids. How many kids you got?
I'm married. I have a very big dog, no kids.
No kids. Okay. And how long you been married?
15 years.
15 years. So you were into your business 5 years before you got married.
Correct.
Was the business, I'm guessing the business was still smaller at that point, pretty small then. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And she's like, when you first met her, she's like, now, what do you do? You're like,
in fact, so I had actually met her in my second go around at college. So,
okay.
So she came and worked with us for like maybe 6 months, and pretty quickly I found out I couldn't boss her around. So we had to find, she had to go find her own source of income, and she's doing well.
What does your wife do?
She's a product designer at a large tech company.
Is that large tech company a client of WebEnertia?
They are not. They are not.
Okay. Yeah. Could get sticky. By the way, how'd you come up with? Yeah. Go ahead.
No, it could be sticky.
Yeah. How'd you come up with the name WebEnertia, and was that it in the beginning?
It was in the beginning, and all right. So another funny story. So my business partner and I were sharing a physics class together because we were both in school, right? So we're learning about inertia and the property that keeps objects in motion. And we thought, all right, we like doing websites, let's stick the word web in front of inertia, and not completely ignoring the fact that inertia is also the property that resists change, so and then in the 90s, the e-business was a big thing, and it was coined by IBM, I think, for doing business through the web. And so
okay.
we misspelled the I with an E. So basically a series of terrible naming decisions, and we had an agency. So
Okay. Okay. Yeah. By the way, for the listeners, it's WebEnertia.com, and Inertia spelled with an E, WebEnertia.com. Okay. Very good. Before I get into WebEnertia and have you do an overview, I want to know now, these tattoos that I see, this sleeve you got on your arm, is that all from the rock and roll days, or was that later in life?
later in life. Yeah.
Was it? Anything you want to show the audience? Anything you want to share?
I don't know if I could share it. Well, this one is an Armenian coat of arms.
Oh, okay. That's pretty cool. I like it.
There's like some kind of a guitar thing happening here and some random stuff.
When you go to the bar, do you ever just, get up on stage, or do you ever like, hey man, I'll jam with you for a couple of songs? You ever do any of that?
I wish. It's been a while since I played seriously. So, but
okay.
in my younger days, I definitely would. Like when we're playing shows back in the day, and I wouldn't mind asking, going up on stage. That would be fun.
Well, you look like you still play. I mean, you got the look. You're wearing the black. You got the tattoos. You got the rings. You got the look like you would get up on stage if you had a chance.
It's only the look that's left, Steve. Everything else is gone.
All right, man. Let's get into WebEnertia then, as far as an overview, if you don't mind giving us an overview of the company today and its services and kind of who you are. Go for it. Give us the elevator pitch.
Yeah, so we're a digital agency that specializes in designing and developing digital brand experiences and websites, primarily for B2B and B2B technology organizations. That's our niche. That's our sweet spot. We understand like the nuances between B2B and B2C. I mean, these B2B organizations are selling solutions that are tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of dollars in solutions, right? So these sell cycles are really long. There's multiple decision makers that go into making a purchasing decision. So that's where we come in, as we understand those personas involved. We understand their user journeys through a website, the best practices for conversion and lead generation, and telling the narrative, and really connecting with people's pain points and how our specific solution could solve it for them. So that's kind of what we do. So we usually work with mid to large enterprise organizations.
Now, is mid to large because small to medium can't afford you guys, or what's the reason for the mid to large focus?
It's more of a process than a dollar value thing. I mean, just the amount of well, I guess it does come down to dollars, but the way we've set up our processes really fits better for mid to large than the SMBs, right? So it's just more of a fit for us as an organization for those types of works.
Okay. And are you helping take them to the next level? Are you better at a full rebrand? What's the main specialty? I mean, if I'm already a mid-sized company, if I'm doing, I don't know, 500 million or close to $1 billion, why am I calling WebEnertia?
So usually we're redesigning a site because of some kind of a big marketing shift. So whether that organization is changing the direction that they want to go from like a messaging or branding perspective, or if they need to catch up with their competition, they're falling behind, or there's a new product offering that they want to. So it usually the website redesign goes hand in hand with some kind of a brand refresh as well. So
I
we
see.
are involved. I would say maybe 60 to 70% of our work is the web itself, but the other 30% is doing some brand strategy work. So thinking about their messaging strategy and positioning and visual identity and all that. So they will come to us to kind of help put all that together, with the website being really your most important brand touch point right nowadays, for especially for a B2B organization. So and that's what our specialty is. We start creating those experiences for them.
And then do those customers hang on and hire you for marketing services, whether it's social media or SEO or SEM or whatever? Do you keep them afterwards?
Yeah, we have a full marketing arm that we can help them with these organizations. We have like a 90% retention rate with our clients. So
nice.
So yeah, it's really important for us to have that ongoing engagement, whether it's SEO or whether it's actually improving what we've already created, right? Get some additional data and do some user testing, A/B testing, and continuously improve this product that we've created for them as their corporate website.
Now, when it comes to dealing with a CEO that maybe was also an original founder, or a CEO that's been there for a long time and has scaled the business, and somebody needs to talk them into a different look, a different feel, especially from a branding strategy perspective, and they get offended, or they don't want to hear it, or their feelings are hurt, or they think they know best, and all the rest of the shit that you have to deal with these egos. Is that still you going in to have those conversations, or somebody else is doing that now?
At the end of the day, they'll call it, see, this guy's not listening, so I'll have to step in there. But we're really data-driven organization. We're like, so there's some agencies that are, some organizations that are very like experimental, maybe would be the right word. Say, hey, let's try this. Like, it's like the super coolest architect coming to you and saying, hey, I'm going to build you this amazing house, and I want the door on the roof, right? Yeah. We're not that. Like, we look at data, we look at like, what are the best practices, what's going to get you the most engagement, most qualified leads, all that stuff, and make those recommendations. So a lot of our C-level folks actually listen because we bring data behind the recommendations that we make. And again, it's our niche, so having our niche be small allows us to study it, research on it, find data behind it. So yeah.
Okay.
I mean, those conversations do come up in business.
But trust me, I know. And then how about your angle with podcasts and your own approach to now kind of putting yourself out there on social media after 20 something years? You're stepping out there a little bit, because I'm looking, obviously I studied you ahead of time. You weren't massive. You're not like you're massive on LinkedIn or anything. It's not like you got 100,000 followers there. So you weren't what I would call a huge social media guy, because you were busy the last 20 years building your agency, right? But now you've started to step out there more frequently as of late. What is the reason? What's the strategy for that?
You're hurting my feelings about my followers, man.
I'm sorry. It's only 572.
I think even with we've actually put in a focus on thought leadership and just dumping 22 years of knowledge that I have onto paper and podcasts. And I'm actually enjoying some of that, and maybe set myself up, see what I can do more in the future. But yeah, a lot of it's actually been nice just documenting or talking out loud about some of the work that I've done, and helping it for whoever it might help, even our own team, right? Just to look at some. I mean, it's amazing. Like, once you get to a certain size, and you don't know everyone, like when you're 20 people, right? So it's kind of nice for them to get in there and hear your story and where you came from and all of that. So
I couldn't agree more, especially since you've had a business for 20 something years that you bootstrapped, that is increased in revenue. It's profitable. You haven't had to give up a bunch of ownership, and you never had to take on a bunch of cash, and you're still working with your original co-founder. I mean, I'm just telling you right now, bro, I don't interview a lot of people like that. So yeah, it is a very good story that you should share, and you should talk about all the successes that you've had and how you've done that, what you've overcome to keep it going. Because it is, there's just not a lot of people walking around on planet Earth that can say that. I mean, you're in a small group. You're in a small group.
I appreciate it. I mean, you make it sound a lot rosier than it actually was, right? Um, but yeah, I mean, those are things I'm literally very proud of, right? Like just being able to stick around. I mean, one of our biggest wins was being in the Inc. 5000 list for the first time last year, and as a small company, it's kind of easy to, or for me in my head, it's easier to get on that list because you can win a couple of big clients and you've doubled your revenue and you've done all sorts of things. To do that 22 years after being in business, I feel like says something a little bit about what we might be doing right. So yeah, we are proud of where we are.
Very good. I got a few questions here as we wrap up. How long was it, if you can remember, because you've been doing it for a while, but how long was it before you were big enough and making enough money to where you could fire a client or tell somebody, no, I don't want to do services for you? How long did that take?
I wish I learned that faster than I did. Is my answer. I don't know exactly when, but once you do that, you literally figure out that saying no to the wrong opportunity is actually saying yes to the right opportunity. Like I definitely learned that. I don't know when I learned it, but I wish I learned it faster than I did.
And I bring that question up because it is, especially for a service business, for anybody out there, aspiring entrepreneurs that want to start a service business. I know when you first started, scared and shit, and you're trying to, you're starving in cash flow and you're wondering how you're going to pay the rent and holy cow and, all the rest of it. But if you work for assholes, you're just going to be miserable. You're going to end up doing shitty work anyway, because you're not going to want to do the work. It's just not a good idea.
Yeah, don't work for assholes. Don't do jobs that you don't want to do, even if the people are nice. Like really figure out. Like when we figured out what our niche was, like our revenue jumped out. I mean, that makes your organization focused. It makes you focused, right? Like do the stuff that you've said to yourself that this is what I want to work on and who I want to work with.
Yes, you'll be so much happier and you'll enjoy it so much more. How about this one? Advice for, I mean, I don't know, in 2 or 3 ways, how do you survive a co-founder relationship for 20 years? What's the magic potion that you're using to, because I'm sure there's been disagreements. I'm sure there's been, some arguments here and there. What's the magic? How do you do it?
I think the biggest thing with any relationship is trust and respect, right? So if you can still respect the person that's sitting across from you and you're trusting them, even though like trusting everyone that they all have the best interest of the family unit or the organization or the company in mind, I feel like making sure when you're arguing, getting into those heated conversations, you kind of bring yourself back to where you are. What are some of those baselines? You can get through a lot of those things. So yeah, I think, and inevitably those heated conversations happen, right? And your relationship does change. I mean, me and my best friend are not the same two people that we were when we first started. But in a lot of ways, we're better people because of it, right? And it's going through that process and learning to trust and making some really, really difficult decisions together that we didn't agree on. Really actually helps you grow.
Very good. On a serious note here, any effect with this whole thing over in Russia and any of that stuff with family members? I mean, I know you're not like right next to the border, but you're in the region. Anything? So, yeah.
We actually had a team there in Ukraine, which yeah, I mean, pretty much all of them had to leave their cities where they were at, and we had to stop production or whatever with that group over there. But so yeah, our hearts and our thoughts are always with them. We actually helped we paid them a few months in advance so they could
Okay.
figure out their life until they get settled down again, so we can start working with them again. But it was close to home for us.
Friend, last question. What is Steve's core purpose in life now moving forward? You've been very successful. You grew a business. You know, I don't know if you could retire right now if you wanted to, but you're probably getting closer. Maybe if you sold the business, you just chill, become a consultant, whatever. What is your go forward core purpose? Why are you walking around on planet Earth, moving forward here?
I don't have some super grandiose purpose. Like, I think the thing that keeps me up at night, and I'm assuming we're talking about like non-family, right? So
Yeah. Yep.
keeps me up at night, and what I'd really strive to do is create an organization that people are proud to be associated with. Like, that's wherever, like, and whether that's employees or our customers. Like, I literally know these people are putting their careers and their careers in my hands, right? Like, my employees, even the folks that are choosing to hire me, and I take that responsibility very seriously. And I want to create a place that people are proud to be a part of. So with whatever I do, so whether they're part of working within that organization. So right now, that's what I would say is my answer.
Steve, thank you very much for being on the Riderflex podcast and sharing your story. I really appreciate it, sir.
All right. Hey, thanks, Steve. Thanks for having me.